being a chief and a counselor all through those years. And you know, yesterday a song was sung here that I got honored one time in Treaty 3 area in Eagle Lake. I was the Grand Chief for eight summers, I think, 8 years. And they honored me. And they accepted me to be an honorary chief for the rest of my life. And that was a song that was sung yesterday that I danced for. That was why I danced around yesterday. It's just being reminded of what that recognition that I had back home. And that guy that remembered that, he's not here with us. He's from Whitefish Bay. He had to go home. So I really thanked him for that. He knew right away when I got up and danced around. Because the elder that brought that song to our attentions in our meeting, that is the leadership song, he said, with our leaders. So all of these things as you go through life, some of the things the good things that you remember, I'm inspired myself when I think about those things. And the message that I had for the young people, we do have young people here, is that in your own way, you pick out your own role model. Who would you like to be? Who you see of all the people around you. That's how I became a Grand Chief. My role model was another Grand Chief. I used to be very taken of his ambition to talk for his community, his organization that he represented. There was always media around him. That's how important he came to be as a politician. And I kept thinking to myself, oh, it must be real good to be of that person, to be like that as a leader, to attract attention to the media and get the publicity. And you know, when I became a Grand Chief, that's exactly what happened. And that publicity just about drove me crazy. Everywhere I went, there was a reporter waiting for me. But the point is, I picked my role model and I gotten to be that. So if you pick your own role model, you're going to get to be like that. What you see of the model that you would like to be. Because you are an individual that can only change yourself. Nobody else can change you except yourself. My dad gave me that teaching long time ago. Kaya pimitisoin mina kaya kanob miko itan sinabi mo. The way you look after yourself, the way your people will begin to know you. This morning, I accepted that compliment from these two elders when they were talking about me. You know, we tell people back home too, when there's elders around, they always know who you are. You can't fool the elders. That's something that the natural gift that they have is who we are working with. And we all go through the same thing, learning. We keep learning from you people when we listen what you're going through. Because we've been through that road before in our time. Already we went through that. And this is at times helps people when we talk about ourselves, how it was and how it's going to be. There was this grandpa. He looked after his grandson and brought him up to be a young man. And while he was getting on, he told his grandson, "The world has changed. It's changed. You need to be educated. You need your education. Finish your education. Go to college or university and have a career." And that young man loves his grandpa so much, he took that advice and he made it. And during that time when he was there, it was a time of the discovery of the USA landing on the moon. And that young man got excited. I wonder what my grandpa will think when I tell him that, when I go home. So he went home that summer, and he was really excited to see his reaction when he told his grandpa, "You know, Grandpa, maybe you have heard about there were United States, 2 men landed on the moon and they walked on the moon." And his grandpa smiled at him. "Is that their first time?" See, these are the things that we talk about when we want to learn from the elders. Elders, in their special way, they will tell you how they can help you. Yesterday too I was interviewed, and my wife and I were interviewed. And my response to them was, this is our second year of our gathering here. First year was, yes, we knew it is something that had to be done for the following year. And this is the following year. I said, there's more people and new faces coming. And we don't, and this was never advertised. It's just through Moxon Telegraph. And they asked me, in your own way, what do you think should be done to reach the young people? And I said, they are using the tools we need to use to publicly teach our own people with your technology, through a TV, through your computer. We have to use those, because right now that's where they are. All the young people are interested in TV and communicating, and that's what we have to use for them also, to reach them the way we want to reach them. The last thing I want to share with you is I heard this as I watch every now and then about these already what's been documented through since 1492 through discovery, I guess. They talk about the sacred tobacco. My dad always told me, don't talk about something that's very sacred that you don't know about, he said. And that sacred tobacco does not fit in what that tobacco we have. It's addictive. So you don't compare a sacred tobacco with that domestic. People tend to lead to think that we're addicted to the sacred tobacco. But sacred tobacco is a plant that you don't normally see being used. It was only used in the ceremonies, not to smoke around in somebody's house or smoke up. Only in the ceremonies. That's where that tobacco belongs. I want to share that with you because I've heard so much about sacred tobacco being talked about. And with that, I want to thank you for listening to me, and I hope that I said something good, not offensive. Miigwech. I'd just like to take this opportunity again to share some of the things that I've been keeping to myself. There are times when that time comes when you can share. I know I did yesterday and day before, and I wanted to ask those people to have an open mind about what I want to share with you. We spoke about the people, most of them, that talk about the transition we had to make, taking the things away from us and all that. In the residential school, that's where I experienced that. But it did a lot of good for me to understand what life is all about. Knowing their way and finding my way. I was going to say that last night to share with you to think overnight. Because I've always been told when you say something that you want to share to the people, somebody might have a dream about what you have said. I was very surprised yesterday when the Grand Chief came to me and said what Dave had mentioned when he shared his dream. He came up to me here and said, Gigi Poanin, I dreamt about you. Telling people this is the place to come to find yourself. I don't know how I felt, but nevertheless, I accepted that compliment. Through those years of the work that I've done, and I'm still doing, there is some connection to our culture and tradition in Christianity. The one I've always talked about so many times that I hear are people that had gone searching. They go and fast to find themselves, find a rightful place for themselves, to know who they are. And as I think back about that, I think about what about the Ten Commandments? What did Moses do? He went up to the mountains to get their direction, those Ten Commandments. And there are other things in the Bible that coincides our tradition, because I got brainwashed to know enough that I still know the books of the Bible, like Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and all that, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and those that. We used to have these Jehovah Witnesses coming to our home. They just walk in, even without knocking, they'll just come and walk in. One day, not too many years behind, I came to my house, and there were about 7 or 8 of them. And I know what they were up to. And I said, I have my own culture and so forth. And they said, we didn't come here to preach. We come here to visit you, he said. So I accepted that, and I invited them, and some of them sat on the floor in the living room. It wasn't it just, in a few minutes I would say, here they were preaching to me. And I can only listen so much of that. And I said, you know, I would like to ask you a question, because it has been bothering me, and because I have been brainwashed with Christianity. In our culture, we say our Creator, the Creator that created everything for us and our lives. We identify Him in that way. Could you tell me who God is? I said. Does any of you know who is God? Because I still don't know. And they look at each other. They could not answer that question. I just let that be. So when some